My favorite memories about Grandpa were when I was younger, growing up. He would take me on his rounds at the hospital, so I would load up in the car with Grandpa. We'd drive down a couple miles away to the hospital and walk in the hospital, push the button, go on in like we own the place. And he'd sit me there at the nurse's station while he'd go make rounds.
Papa was the family doctor for a long time, and he took care of all of us.
He has some of the best and most personable bedside skills of any physician that I cannot possibly imagine.
Some of my first memories of Papa, when I was in nurses training, Jimmy had gotten bitten by a shark, and they were on their way home, and they came flying in, Jimmy and a whole bunch of kids from the beach. I'm not even sure we knew some of them. They all just came because Jimmy had gotten bitten by this shark, and Papa John, knowing I was in nursing school, said to me, "Come on, we're going down to the office, come with me." We all loaded up into the station wagon, and Jimmy's leg is hanging out the back window. Why? Because
you don't want to get blood all over the station.
all over Grandma's car.
Right.
So anyway, we go flying down to the office, and we got him cleaned up, and Papa cleaned him up and sewed him up, and we got him taken care of.
I remember when he stitched up Charlie Malfajoe.
Yeah, stitches.
How many friends of yours did he put back together?
Just doing the medical care on the side.
I remember him doing surgery on the picnic table too. He sewed people up on the picnic table down
Or
by the water.
remove hooks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch them fly up in the air.
We used to play down by the rocks, and I stepped on oysters like really bad when I was little. And I went back into the screen porch, and my dad and Grandpa like put my foot in like the pool and was like soaking it and stuff. And then they took like a knife and was like getting all the oysters out of it, and they like cleaned it all up for me.
He also popped somebody's shoulder in on the
Down in the Bahamas.
in the Bahamas.
Yeah. Spread them out on top of a fillet table.
We'd been cleaning conch there, I believe.
Yeah, the guy was out fishing too, so.
Yes,
smelled
and he
like fish
dislocated
everywhere.
his shoulder, and Papa just said, "Climb up!"
Yep, laid him out there, and he climbed down underneath him and grabbed his arm and popped him right back in place.
What I appreciated about Dad the most is what I learned from him, and what I continue to learn from him. For example, I wouldn't know how to fix a toilet to this day if it wasn't for him showing me.
I remember we had to replace a motor on the car, and we just talked about this the other day. Replacing the motor was a challenge. We hung the motor from the tree in the front driveway, and it probably stayed there for about 2 weeks. We got stuck, couldn't get it in, and Dad kept with it. I long gave up on it, but Dad figured out what the issue was, and we got a new motor in a car that was basically worthless to begin with, but it was a lesson learned of how to be persistent, stick with it, and get the accomplishment. And the car got running again, and we used it for another several years after that.
He was sure to teach me how to take care of myself and how to take care of my car, and even take me out and show me how to change a tire, how to check the oil, and when you get your hands dirty, just put a rag over it, and then you don't get your hands dirty, just use the old rag trick.
My favorite memory with Grandpa is making eggs in the morning with him and him teaching me how to crack an egg with one hand.
I remember a few years ago when we went camping in Sebastian. It was our family and then Emily and Natalie's family and Grandma and Grandpa, and we were staying in their camper. We were in Sebastian, so it was gonna be like we were gonna go surfing afterwards. And I remember Grandpa sitting down like specifically with us and told us like everything he knew about surfing and like all these tips and tricks and old stories about it. And I still remember some of them because it was just so cool.
I can remember him giving me the keys to the Mustang and saying in the back of the lot behind his office to go out there and go do donuts. I don't know what he was thinking, but it taught me how to spin a car around in the dirt and not get stuck, and I still don't know what he was thinking.
I do remember this one time. Papa John and I are very similar. We both love learning, no matter what it is. And one time he dared me to read the letter K in the encyclopedia that he had in the library, all 23 pages of it. And I was at his house and I did read 23 pages of the letter K in the encyclopedia. And I don't know, I think that tickled him pink for some reason. He really liked that.
If you ever ask him a question, he could always go into like extreme detail about like
the
information about whatever it is.
One time we took a walk in our neighborhood and he was talking about like the water pipes like under the roads and stuff. He had like this 50-minute conversation about like water pipes. And
now we know everything about water pipes.
Something I love about your dad is how he instigates on purpose, like to get a conversation going. I remember sitting at the table on Christmas one day and he just had the best time arguing with Maura. I don't even remember what they were arguing about, but he just had the best time like getting her going, and it just went on for about 30 minutes going back and forth. I just think that's so funny about him.
he is a debater. He will debate a case to the end, and more than not, he's right.
He's always up for a good little bit of sparring, and I know some of the other family members might not be so into having debates just for debate's sake, but Papa really knows how to throw that fishing line out, and I take the bait every time.
My favorite memory with Grandpa was going to the air show. He took me in 2 planes, one carrier and one that carried people in cargo to help people in Africa.
Going to museums with him or going out to parks, and to the air show even, he's always there just like prodding questions like, hey Maura, do you know how this works? Or do you want to know how this works? And the answer is, if I don't know how it works, the answer is how. And when I do know how it works, the answer is always yes.
I feel real blessed that Grandpa, taught me how to take care of myself, and I'll always remember that.
I remember as a youngster, real young, going out with Papa and Dad and going out and shooting rabbits.
I remember offshore fishing with Dad and Grandpa Pitson. Dad's driving, he's kind of looking out the side of the boat, and he says to my grandpa, Pitson, he says, get your gloves on. We pulled by what appeared to be a fish in the water, and it ended up being like a 7-foot sailfish. Long story short, Dad, as he's driving the boat, leans over, grabs the bill of the sailfish, and Grandpa Pitson grabs the tail of the sailfish, and they pull a sailfish out of the water, caught it by their hands. I was really impressed with that, by the fact that they were able to catch a fish without any fishing line.
My favorite memory with Grandpa is probably New Year's Eve vacation, probably a year and a half ago. We went to our Georgia farm and we hunted ducks. I remember vividly sitting on the edge of the river, very, very cold, and pulling the shotguns out, bang, 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 ducks flying everywhere right next to Grandpa. Great memory.
My Papa memories there's a lot of them, but some of them are the earliest memories I have, which circa 1970, wood panel station wagon, camper, summer vacation, 6 kids, 2 adults in a car driving.
Them leaving you in New York.
That has no. That's not even. That's not even a bad memory for me, but for everybody else it was, because I never missed them. But it's those early memories of Dad coordinating and he at the helm of a wood paneled station wagon, and before seatbelts were required, literally kids were sprawled out everywhere, and we went from Florida to all over the country, and those are just some of the best memories I have.
Remember when we went to the park with Grandma and Grandpa when they visited us and we fed the ducks? Yes! That was so much fun.
Holiday time like this, we'd have some free time. I'd say, hey Dad, let's go play some racquetball. And I'm like, you know what? I'm pretty spry. I'm tight. I'm going to beat him in racquetball. To this day, I've not been able to beat my dad in racquetball.
Well, growing up, I remember vaguely learning to ski, and the way we learned to ski was by being put on front of the double skis, and he would hold us up there while we would go skiing around a couple of circles, I guess, and eventually we'd have to let off. But that was one of the earlier ones of being out and about.
We were in Bahia Hand one year, and it was the year we decided to learn how to water ski, which started a huge thing, by the way. But I remember my dad and Grandpa went first because I was really scared and I didn't want to do it. And I remember thinking, if Grandpa can water ski, then I can water ski.
Papa John is an incredibly spry fellow. And I do remember this one time we were having like our own little wakeboarding and water skiing camp. And all of us youngins, we want to wakeboard because, let's face it, that's what's cool. But Papa John was adamant that we all at least tried water skiing once. And he tried it to show us how it's done. And man, oh man, I have never seen someone water ski like Papa John did. I was incredibly impressed. And not gonna lie, he is a better water skier than I am.
Grandpa's always taking pictures, which I think is cool.
Documenting
everything.
Yeah.
Grandpa has me taking pictures of flowers now. I'll walk by and I won't pass a flower that's blooming without taking a picture of it. And so I get that from Grandpa.
We always see them on his computer.
And
scrolling
he's
through.
he's so technological for just playing the card game. That's
solitaire,
cool.
yeah.
Solitaire.
I love that Papa always likes the newfangled technology, and he's always getting me interested in the new things that Hollywood is doing. I know he loves the 3D effects and all the software that they use. He took me one time to see the new 3D movie Avatar, and it was really neat to see that with him. Maura, he and I actually went to the second Lord of the Rings movie, and in it there's a part where Gollum, the really creepy creature, goes up to the hobbits and says, "You stole my precious!" Papa couldn't really hear that part very well, and so he leaned over to us in the quiet movie theater and asked, "Wait a second, they stole his breakfast?" More, and I just thought that was the funniest thing. I remember both of us were dying in the movie theater. We were laughing so hard.
Whenever the parents go out, they always like get these great movies, and we all just have a fun time watching them. We
Yeah,
end up like
big
falling
movies.
asleep.
And we eat popcorn, and we have to split it in like 10 different bowls
Yeah.
because there's so many of us. And one time we watched like old movies from when we like used to camp in Indiantown, and of like Mr. Knickerbocker like jumping out at us and everything. No, one time we watched old home videos from when our dads were like really young, and they were like in the Bahamas or something, and that was really fun.
And they always have like cool stories about like just old times that
yeah.
like, things we wouldn't know because like we obviously weren't born yet.
As far as funny stories, there's lots of them. He's a very serious man, and I love that. But he's also loves making jokes, having fun, and cutting up a little bit.
I like whenever we go swimming in the pool, he always joins us and he makes it fun, and like no matter what time or whenever, he always just comes and swims with us.
I love it when Grandpa has his pet spider. And I don't like spiders because they scare me a lot.
When me and Luke were little, we used to love puzzles and reading books. And Grandpa would always read us books, and he would like sometimes just make up the words if it was like a Fisher magazine or something like that.
Does Grandpa do magic?
Yeah.
Do you like it when Grandpa takes his thumb off?
Yeah.
Whose idea was it to sneak up behind Mom and pierce her ears?
Yeah, I remember whose idea that was.
It wasn't mine.
Well, I thought it was because I thought you needed to buy me a gift.
Well, I mean, yeah, but Dad was the one that came up with the idea of just surprising
Yes,
you.
sitting at the dining room table.
I knew you wanted
Wow.
one.
Right.
Now we got one, you got to...
Yeah, I know. Once he put the first one in, I had to have the second one.
So Papa did that?
Yes, Papa did that at the dining room table.
Okay, a few Thanksgivings ago, we were outside playing manhunt, and we decided that we were kind of hungry. So we went into Grandma's fridge, her outside fridge, and we found some pies because it was Thanksgiving. And so we took our pies and we sat outside in the driveway, and we were just minding our own business, eating our pies, and we were kind of close to Grandpa's van. We didn't really like think much of it because we just kind of sat down wherever. And all of a sudden, Grandpa's van turns on and starts backing up, and he's this close to hitting us. And Emily was on crutches at the time because she had broken her ankle. So we're all like sprinting out of the driveway holding all these pies, and Emily's crutches and forks and stuff were flying everywhere.
And Emily was like hobbling, like she was like holding her crutches and like hobbling with a pie in her hand back to the garage. That was funny.
And then we don't know if he ever, we don't know if he noticed.
We
but
turned
that
around and he was like laughing and stuff.
I was a little apprehensive about asking for his daughter's hand in marriage. He was taking out the garbage, if I recall. He was walking out to the curb, and so I kind of like chased him down. I chased him down, and I was kind of picture tugging at his coattails, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, listen, I was just kind of wondering if it would be okay." And you know, in his true fashion, just open arms, big hug, welcoming. Of course, yes, absolutely. You know, we love you. Let's, but there was never a shotgun and a shovel talk. There was never a fear or apprehension.
I saved that for the ones in high school.
He might have.
With my brothers.
Maybe he liked me, I don't know.
One year, right when I met the Powers, they came up to Florida State to visit, and they gave us Ted, and we were supposed to introduce him to Florida State, and we took him to a class and all that great stuff. Well, that night we had to introduce him to some college party life, and I'll just say the night ended with Papa opening the door of the La Quinta in his pajamas with Ted and a police officer.
Whoops.
That's my Papa memory.
I really remember when we got engaged and you came up, we had to have our blood work done for the license. And your dad says, "Oh, I can handle the blood work." And I said, "You're going to draw Mike's blood for the license?" He said, "Tara, I'm a doctor. I've done this for years. I'm one of the best. I can get any vein that's there. I'm like a vampire, I believe were the words he used for us." I go, "All right, if you think you can do it on a Saturday, Mike's coming up." So you go into the lab that morning. It's just you, Dad, and I. He pulls out the stuff. He gets the tube. He finds your vein quickly. I have to admit, he did a really good job. Puts the tube in, hands it to me afterwards, and I turn to put the tube on the side, and I turn back, and there's Daddy. Papa took the tube out, but he'd left the needle in the
Still
arm.
in the arm.
Yeah, and blood is going all over the lab, and I'm going, "Oh really? This is how it's done?"
I was at home and I was really sick, and everyone else was at church except for Grandpa and Uncle Jim. And I threw up all over the carpet, and Grandpa and Uncle Jim just decided to vacuum it up. I don't know why.
It's a really gross story, but I love it.
Some of my fond memories are, as a kid, riding with him to the hardware store, and I just remember everywhere we would go into public, people would stop and ask to talk to him, and it's amazing how many people in the community know him.
You know, I say character counts, and you're in Martin County, then character counts. His character is something that you can only dream of being, and there are very few people in the world that have that kind of character.
The year he was president of the local Kiwanis Club, he advocated for and got permission and funding to instill a pool and have a pool built in our community, which led to others to learn how to swim. I guess they realized there was a lot of drowning incidences or near drowning, and so after having the pool built, then they realized there was less incidents of drowning, and so I think that was one of his great civic deeds that he's done over the past many years.
And I appreciate how awesome he is for our girls, and they see that and they see Grandpa, and it's just you set the bar, you set the standard, you're the captain of our ship, and it's just awesome.
We're just so proud that having the kids here in town, and we take you to the hospital and show them, this is where Grandpa works or worked, and having the doctor's lounge named after him, that's just really special, and so proud of who we are and where we've come from.
Not only has Papa done a lot for Martin County as a community, he also does a lot for his family. I remember lots of times after Thanksgiving, Mom and Dad would be busy. They'd be taking Maura back to school. Everything would be crazy. And Papa would volunteer. He and Grandma would take me up to Tallahassee to go back and finish up the fall semester.
My favorite memory with Papa is when he saved Ted and I from Wildwood. We drove the Camaro up to Tallahassee to visit Jim when we first started dating. And of course we broke down on the way home. And I've never been so happy to see somebody as Dad, and he pulled in and saved us.
After Hurricane Andrew, we needed help. I mean, the house was destroyed. Papa got the Ryder truck, and we went down with supplies, anything you could think of that we might need. And we got up at 4 in the morning, went hauling down there, we got everything we needed. And Papa had to get that truck back to the Ryder rental, because they needed it. Everybody needed those trucks at that point. And Papa called a friend, Fred Berkey, who at that time had the flower farm, and Fred came with the workers to help unload that truck, because we just didn't have a lot of people to help at that point up here. And gosh, they had that truck unloaded lickety-split. They had it done. And afterwards, Papa, I guess I vaguely remember he reached into his wallet. He wanted to give those workers something for their troubles, for helping us, and they wouldn't accept it. And he just broke down and cried. And I remember standing there watching Papa cry, and I was fine up until then. It was like, okay, it was very touching.
You're always there for us. Anytime we're broken down, we know you're a phone call away. Anytime we need you, we can always rely on you. And I really appreciate that. There was one particular time and one particular episode I can remember when he was having his heart surgery, and it's a serious situation, but I can remember I was probably one of the last people that he saw. They were wheeling him in, he was in the gurney. So we were sitting there face to face, and he just looked at me, and he had like 3 or 4 things to say. I'm not gonna go into what they were, but they were phenomenal. They were educational. They were, John, think about this and think about that. It wasn't, pray for me, I'm worried about myself. It was still, even in that situation, he was talking to me and giving me words of wisdom.
What I can say about Papa is he's really taught us how to live. He's taught us how to face some of the most horrible times, because he's been there and he's gone through them, and he's taught us that you can come through them and pick yourself up and keep going and try harder.
He's always taken the opportunity to make you a better person, and that seems like maybe a cliche thing to say, but everybody who knows him knows that. You know, he's always sort of going out of his way to help educate and teach and bring up and to motivate.
I think it's great that Papa gives us the opportunity every year to go to the Keys. They make sure that we have the cabins for 2 full weeks, and it's really fun to be able to see all of our aunts and uncles and cousins, and I think it really helps keep us tight-knit. You don't really see that a lot of times in today's day and age. You don't see families being that close, and I think Papa is one of the reasons why we're that way.
80 ago, you were born. And I think that was pretty awesome because not only without you, I wouldn't be here, but you've also brought a lot to the world as a human being, as a doctor, as a husband and a father, and I am supremely glad that you are my grandfather and that you can teach me and guide me along the way and show me just how much curiosity can help you find what you're looking for in life.
So from this, we wish you, Dad, a wonderful and happy 80th birthday.
We love you.
We love you.
Happy birthday to